Maya had always been someone who cared deeply for others, even in small moments when no one was watching. It was early on a Monday morning when she found herself at the train station, just like every other day. The rush of commuters, the hustle and bustle of people heading to work, and the sound of trains arriving and departing filled the air. Maya was used to it by now. The loud announcements echoed over the loudspeakers, and people moved quickly around her, each person focused on their own busy day. Maya was in a hurry as usual. She had a meeting scheduled with a potential client later that morning, and she couldn't afford to be late. But even with all the rush, she had always believed in taking a moment to be aware of her surroundings. It was in her nature to notice the small details that most people might overlook. As she made her way toward the platform, she noticed an elderly man standing at the edge. He was wearing a faded gray coat, his hands clutching a worn cane, and his eyes seemed distant as though he was lost. Despite the crowd rushing around him, he stood still, his head slightly tilted to one side. It wasn't the usual scene you'd expect at a train station, and something about the man made Maya pause for a moment. She slowed her pace as she approached him. The man appeared to be completely unaware of the people passing by him, and Maya could see that he was struggling to find his bearings. His cane tapped the ground, but it didn't seem to help him much. Maya couldn't just walk past him. Something about him made her heart ache. Maybe it was the way he seemed so alone, or maybe it was just the fact that he was trying so hard to navigate the busy station on his own. "Excuse me, sir," Maya called out gently, making sure not to startle him. The elderly man turned slowly toward her, and his blind eyes met hers. Though it was clear he couldn't see her, he smiled, a faint smile that seemed to hold years of stories behind it. "Yes?" His voice was calm, but there was a slight tremor in it, perhaps from his age or the uncertainty of his situation. "Are you okay? Do you need help getting to the train?" Maya asked, her voice warm and kind. She could see that he was struggling and didn't want to leave him in a vulnerable position. The man paused for a moment before replying, "I'm trying to find my way to the next train, but I'm afraid I've lost track of the time. I'm not sure which platform I'm supposed to be on." Maya's heart went out to him. She could see that he was doing his best, but navigating the station was clearly a challenge for someone who couldn't see. "It's okay," she said softly. "I can help you. I know the way." He seemed relieved at her offer, his body relaxing slightly. "Thank you," he said. "I would appreciate that very much." Maya reached out to him, gently taking his arm to guide him through the crowd. She knew the station well and had often maneuvered through the busy area herself. She could feel the vibrations of the train tracks underfoot and knew exactly where to lead him. As they walked together, Maya took a moment to talk with him. She didn't want him to feel alone or isolated in the crowd, and the conversation seemed to ease his nerves. "I've been taking this train for years," he said, his voice carrying a sense of nostalgia. "But it's not as easy as it used to be." Maya smiled, trying to comfort him. "I can imagine. The world moves so fast, and sometimes it's hard to keep up." She could hear the faint sadness in his voice, and she felt a deeper connection with him. It wasn't just the physical act of helping him. It was the emotional weight of the moment. She didn't know much about this man's life, but she could tell he had a story to tell. They continued walking, carefully navigating through the crowds, and Maya could see the small details of the station that most people would miss in their hurry. The faded advertisements on the walls, the sound of a coffee cup being set down on a nearby counter, the distant murmur of voices. It was all part of the busy station that Maya had come to know so well. Eventually, they reached the correct platform. Maya led the man to a bench near the edge and helped him sit down. He was grateful for the assistance, and she could tell that he felt a little more at ease now. The train wasn't due for another few minutes, so they had time to talk. "What's your name?" Maya asked, sitting down beside him. "James," he replied, offering her a warm smile. "James Harrison," Maya smiled back. "It's nice to meet you, James. I'm Maya." James nodded. "Thank you again for helping me today. I don't know what I would have done if you hadn't come by." "It was no trouble at all," Maya said. "I'm just glad I could help." They sat in companionable silence for a few moments, listening to the sounds of the station around them. The trains rumbled by and people continued their hurried routines, but Maya felt a sense of peace in that brief moment with James. There was something about helping others that brought her a sense of calm, a reminder that sometimes all it takes is one simple act of kindness to make a difference in someone's day. The train soon arrived, and Maya helped James board. As he settled into his seat, he looked up at her with a smile. "Thank you, Maya," he said. "You've made my day much easier." Maya waved him off with a smile, watching the train slowly pull away. She felt good about the encounter, knowing that her small act of kindness had made a difference in James's day. But what she didn't know was that this simple moment would turn into something much bigger, something that would change the course of her own life. With the train now out of sight, Maya continued on her way. As she walked toward her office, she couldn't help but think about James. Who was he really? What was his life like? It wasn't often that she met someone like him, and the curiosity lingered in her mind. But for now, she pushed those thoughts aside, focusing on her work. Little did she know this was only the beginning of an incredible journey. The next day, Maya found herself rushing through the same train station once again, just as busy as the previous morning. She had a lot on her mind: work, deadlines, meetings, but her thoughts kept drifting back to the elderly man, James, whom she had helped the day before. It wasn't just his blindness that made him stand out. There was something about him, a quiet dignity, a calm strength that made Maya feel like he was someone worth remembering. She didn't often think much about the people she met in passing, but for some reason James was different. Maya entered the station, the sound of bustling crowds filling her ears. She moved with purpose, her eyes scanning the familiar sights of the station as she made her way toward the platform. It was busy, as usual, with people hurrying to catch their trains or simply passing through on their way to somewhere else. The bright lights and the constant hum of activity were all too familiar to Maya, but today the station felt different to her. She couldn't help but wonder if she would see James again. As she neared the platform, her eyes scanned the crowd almost unconsciously. That's when she spotted him, James. He was standing at the edge of the platform once again, holding his cane, but this time he wasn't alone. There was a woman standing beside him, her arm gently resting on his elbow, guiding him as he made his way through the crowd. The woman appeared to be in her late 20s or early 30s, wearing a business suit, her dark hair pulled back into a neat ponytail. Maya's curiosity piqued. She hadn't expected to see James here again, let alone with someone else. As she approached, she couldn't help but feel a little awkward, unsure of whether or not she should approach him again. Would he remember her? Was it strange to offer help a second time? But just as she was about to turn and head toward the other side of the station, James's voice cut through the noise. "Ah, it's you again," he called, his voice warm and familiar. Maya froze, a smile spreading across her face as she turned back toward him. "Hello, James," she said, walking toward him. "It's good to see you again." James's face lit up and the woman beside him smiled politely. "This is my assistant, Lisa," James said, introducing the woman next to him. "Lisa, this is the young woman who helped me yesterday." Lisa smiled at Maya, extending a hand. "It's nice to meet you. I've heard a lot about you." Maya shook Lisa's hand, feeling slightly embarrassed. "I didn't do much," she said. "I was just in the right place at the right time." James laughed softly. "You did more than you know. You made a big difference for me yesterday." Maya felt her cheeks warm at the praise, but she was glad that James remembered her. "I'm happy I could help," she said with a smile. She paused, looking at the pair in front of her. "It's nice to see you both today." James nodded. "I come here every day, though I'm usually not accompanied by anyone. But today, Lisa is helping me with some things." Maya felt a wave of relief that it wasn't just her imagination. She wasn't the only one noticing James, and it seemed like he had someone looking out for him. It was good to know he wasn't alone, especially in a busy place like the train station. "I'm glad you're being looked after," Maya said, her voice sincere. "I was worried about you yesterday." James's smile softened. "That's very kind of you to say, Maya. I'm doing fine. It's just that, well, I don't always get the help I need. I've been trying to find my way around the world without sight for a while now, and some days are harder than others." Maya nodded, understanding what he meant. She couldn't imagine what it must be like to navigate such a busy world without being able to see it. She was glad that Lisa was there to help him now, but the thought that he had been managing on his own for so long struck her deeply. "It must be difficult sometimes," Maya said thoughtfully. "I can't even begin to imagine how you manage everything." James smiled gently. "It has its challenges, but I've learned to adapt. I've always believed that people can overcome almost anything if they have the right attitude and the right help along the way. Maya admired his outlook. It was rare to hear someone speak with such positivity, especially someone who faced such a difficult situation. It made her think about her own life and how often she took the little things for granted. Things that James likely never had the luxury of, like seeing the world around her or simply navigating a crowd without struggle. Before she could respond, Lisa spoke up, breaking the silence. "Well, we need to get going. James has a meeting soon and I need to make sure we're on schedule." She smiled at both of them before turning to James. "Are you ready?" James nodded. "Yes, let's go." Maya took a step back as Lisa gently guided James toward the train. "It was really nice to see you both again," Maya said. "I hope everything goes well with your meeting." "Thank you, Maya," James said warmly. "I'll never forget your kindness." "You're a good person." Maya smiled, her heart swelling a little at his words. "Take care, James. I hope we meet again sometime." With that, the two of them disappeared into the crowd and Maya watched as they boarded the train. She stood there for a moment thinking about their brief exchange. There was something about James, his strength, his kindness, his attitude, that left an impression on her. She couldn't help but wonder about his life, about what had led him to where he was now. But for the time being, she pushed those thoughts aside. There was no reason to dwell on them. She had work to do and her day was waiting. But as she made her way toward her own train, Maya couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't the last time she would cross paths with James. There was something about him that made her believe their meeting wasn't just a random encounter. It felt like fate. Little did she know, James had been thinking the same thing. The days following her second meeting with James felt different for Maya. It was a feeling she couldn't quite explain, but it lingered in the back of her mind. Her mornings seemed a little quieter, and her thoughts often drifted back to James. He was still a mystery to her. She knew so little about his life, but the way he carried himself, the way he spoke had left a lasting impression. She kept wondering who he was beyond the gentle old man with the cane. She had almost forgotten about the whole encounter when, a few days later, her phone rang. Maya was at her desk scrolling through emails when the caller ID popped up. The number was unfamiliar, but something inside her told her to answer. She picked up the phone, pressing it to her ear. "Hello? Maya?" The voice on the other end was calm with a slight refined tone that immediately made her pause. "Yes?" Maya replied, unsure of who it could be. "This is James Harrison. We met a few days ago at the train station." Maya's heart skipped a beat. It was James. "Oh, hello, James," she said, her voice filled with surprise. "It's great to hear from you." "I hope I'm not interrupting anything," James said kindly. "I know it's a bit sudden, but I wanted to speak with you about something important." Maya's curiosity piqued. "Of course, what's on your mind? I know we've only met a few times, but I've been thinking a lot about you lately. The way you helped me at the station, the kindness you showed me, it hasn't left my thoughts. And after giving it some consideration, I believe there's something I can offer you, something that might be of interest," James continued. Maya's mind raced. What could he possibly want to offer her? She hadn't expected anything like this. "I'm listening," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. "I'd like to meet with you. There's something I'm working on, a project, and I think you could play a significant role in it. But first, I need to know if you'd be open to discussing it further." Maya felt a mix of excitement and uncertainty. She had no idea what James was referring to, but she also couldn't deny that her curiosity had been sparked. "I'd love to meet. When and where?" "I'll arrange for us to meet tomorrow afternoon around 2 p.m. I'll send you the details," James replied. "Sounds good. I'll see you then." After hanging up, Maya sat back in her chair, her thoughts racing. What could James possibly want with her? Was this some kind of business opportunity or something else entirely? Her mind flooded with possibilities, but no matter how much she thought about it, she couldn't come up with an answer. The next day, Maya found herself standing in front of a sleek modern building in the city center. It was a little further from the train station than she was used to, but the address James had given her was clear. She stepped through the front doors of the building, greeted by a bright, polished lobby. The receptionist smiled at her as she entered, asking for her name before directing her to the elevator. When she reached the top floor, the elevator doors opened to reveal a spacious conference room with a large glass window overlooking the city. At the far end of the room, James was standing, waiting for her. He greeted her with a warm smile as she entered. "Welcome, Maya." "I'm glad you could make it," James said, extending his hand in greeting. "Please have a seat." Maya shook his hand and sat down, her nerves starting to settle now that she was face to face with him. She couldn't help but notice the large desk in front of him, with papers, a laptop, and various documents scattered about. It looked like an office, but the atmosphere was far more welcoming than any corporate space she had ever been in. "Thank you for inviting me," Maya said, settling into her seat. James smiled and nodded. "It's my pleasure. I wanted to talk to you about something that's been very close to my heart for many years now. But before I dive into the details, I need to ask you a few questions." Maya raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "Sure, go ahead." "Tell me, Maya," James began, his tone thoughtful. "What do you value most in life? What drives you?" Maya thought for a moment. It was a question that had been asked before, but this time it felt more personal. "I value connection," she said finally. "I value the way people can come together to help each other. Whether it's something big or small, I believe that kindness and understanding can change lives." James nodded, his expression approving. "I agree completely. And that's why I think you might be the right person for the project I'm about to share with you." Maya leaned forward, eager to learn more. "What's the project?" James smiled. "It's about accessibility. Over the years, I've worked on various initiatives, but I've always felt that there's more to be done. There are so many places in the world where people with disabilities, especially those who are blind or have limited mobility, are not given the resources they need. My goal is to create a network, a system that helps to bridge that gap to make spaces more inclusive." Maya was taken aback. She had never imagined James was involved in something so impactful. "That sounds incredible," she said, her voice filled with admiration. "But how do you plan to make it happen?" "That's where you come in," James replied. "I've spent many years building connections and learning about the needs of disabled individuals. But what's been missing is a team of passionate people who can help me bring this vision to life. People who care about others and want to make a difference. I believe you have the heart for this kind of work, Maya." Maya sat back in her chair, the weight of his words settling in. She had always wanted to help others, but she had never considered working on a project like this. The opportunity was bigger than anything she had ever imagined. "What exactly would I be doing?" she asked, her mind racing with the possibilities. "I want you to help lead this initiative," James said. "I'm assembling a team to research and implement solutions for accessibility, both in public spaces and private businesses. Your role would be to help coordinate efforts, organize events, and ensure that our message reaches the right people. You would be a key part of a project that has the potential to change the lives of thousands, if not millions." Maya couldn't believe what she was hearing. The thought of being a part of something so meaningful, something that could impact so many lives, was overwhelming. "This is a huge responsibility," she said slowly. James nodded, his expression serious. "It is, but I believe you have what it takes. You've shown me that you understand the importance of kindness and connection, and that's the foundation of everything we're trying to do." Maya's heart swelled with emotion. This was the opportunity of a lifetime, but it also came with a great deal of uncertainty. She had no experience in leading such a large project, but she couldn't ignore the pull in her heart, the desire to help, to make a difference. She had been waiting for something like this without even knowing it. "I'm in," Maya said, her voice firm. "I want to be a part of this." James smiled, his eyes gleaming with approval. "I knew you would be the right person for the job." As they talked further about the project, Maya felt a sense of excitement that she had never felt before. This was more than just a job or a project. It was a chance to change the world, to help people who had long been overlooked and forgotten. And it was all beginning with a simple act of kindness at a train station. The next few weeks were a whirlwind for Maya. After accepting the opportunity to work on the project with James, everything seemed to move quickly. The scope of the work was far bigger than anything she had ever imagined, but each step she took felt right. As the project began to take shape, Maya found herself diving into research, making calls, and meeting with potential partners. She had never been so deeply involved in something so impactful, and it felt like the most meaningful work she had ever done. James had introduced her to his small but dedicated team, a group of individuals who shared the same passion for making the world more accessible for those with disabilities. They were all incredibly kind, and Maya quickly felt at home with them. They worked together in an office space that felt more like a creative studio than a traditional workplace. There was an energy in the room, a sense of purpose that was contagious. But as the project progressed, Maya began to realize just how much work was ahead of them. The initiative was ambitious, too ambitious for anyone to handle alone. There were meetings with city officials, discussions with architects, and countless hours spent researching the needs of people with disabilities. It was overwhelming at times, but Maya never felt discouraged. She believed in the cause, and she believed in the people she was working with. One afternoon, as Maya sat at her desk, she received a message from James. It was a simple note asking her to meet him in his office. She had become accustomed to his quiet, thoughtful approach to leadership, and she always respected the way he made decisions. Maya quickly made her way to his office, her mind racing with thoughts of the project and what James might want to discuss. When she entered his office, James was sitting at his desk, looking over some documents. He looked up and smiled warmly when he saw her. Maya, come in. I wanted to talk to you about something." Maya took a seat across from him, her curiosity piqued. "What's on your mind?" James set the papers aside and leaned back in his chair, his expression thoughtful. "We've made a lot of progress, haven't we?" he said. "The team is doing great work, and we've got some real momentum going. But I think it's time for us to take things to the next level." Maya nodded, feeling a sense of excitement build in her chest. She had been wondering when they would push forward, and now it seemed like that time had finally come. "What do you have in mind?" "We've done a lot of work behind the scenes, and we've started reaching out to some key organizations. But now we need to get the message out to the public," James said. "We need to make sure people understand the importance of accessibility and why it matters. I'm thinking we should host an event, something that will bring attention to the cause and get people talking." Maya's eyes lit up at the idea. An event could be the perfect way to raise awareness. "That sounds amazing. What kind of event are you thinking?" James smiled, clearly pleased with her enthusiasm. "I'm thinking something that will showcase real-life examples of how accessible spaces can make a difference. We can invite people who have experienced challenges because of lack of accessibility and give them a platform to share their stories. It will be an opportunity for people to connect with the cause on a personal level." Maya felt a surge of energy at the thought. She could already picture it. The event would be a powerful way to show the world what they were working toward. "I love the idea. I think it would really resonate with people." James nodded. "I think so too. But here's where I need your help, Maya. You're the one who understands how to connect with people. You have the ability to make them see things from a different perspective. I want you to take the lead on this event. You'll be in charge of coordinating everything, from the speakers to the logistics. I know it's a big responsibility, but I believe you're the right person for it." Maya felt a rush of excitement mixed with a bit of nerves. Taking the lead on such a big event was a huge challenge, but it was exactly what she had been waiting for. She had always wanted to make an impact, and this was her chance. "I won't let you down, James. I'll do everything I can to make it a success." James smiled again, his eyes full of trust. "I know you will. I have complete faith in you." As Maya left James's office that day, she couldn't help but feel the weight of the responsibility on her shoulders. But instead of feeling overwhelmed, she felt inspired. This event could be the turning point for the project, and she was determined to make it something special. The next few days were a blur of planning, phone calls, and brainstorming. Maya worked tirelessly with the team to put together the event, and her excitement only grew as things began to fall into place. They secured a venue, invited speakers who had personal stories to share, and created a marketing campaign to raise awareness. It wasn't easy, but every step forward felt like a victory. As the event drew closer, Maya found herself facing new challenges. There were logistical hurdles to overcome, finding accessible transportation for attendees, making sure the venue was equipped with the necessary accommodations, and coordinating the schedules of all the speakers. There were moments when she doubted whether everything would come together in time, but she kept reminding herself why they were doing this. The cause was bigger than any one obstacle, and she couldn't afford to let fear or uncertainty hold her back. Finally, the day of the event arrived. Maya arrived early at the venue, her heart racing with anticipation. The room was buzzing with energy as the team set up, the speakers arrived, and the attendees began to gather. Maya moved through the crowd, making sure everything was running smoothly. She checked in with the speakers, made sure the audio and visual equipment was ready, and ensured that the accommodations were in place for people with disabilities. As the event began, Maya couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. The room was filled with people from all walks of life, individuals who had struggled with accessibility issues, advocates for people with disabilities, and others who simply wanted to learn more about the cause. Maya took a seat near the front, her heart swelling with emotion as the first speaker took the stage. The speaker was a woman who had been in a wheelchair for most of her life. She shared her personal story of the barriers she had faced when trying to navigate public spaces, from inaccessible buildings to lack of proper transportation. Her words were powerful, and the room was silent as everyone listened intently. Maya could see the impact it was having on the audience. People were moved, and many of them were visibly emotional. As the event continued, more speakers took the stage, each sharing their unique perspective on accessibility and the importance of creating an inclusive world. The stories were heart-wrenching, inspiring, and motivating. Maya could feel the energy in the room building, and she knew that they were starting to make the impact they had set out to achieve. By the time the event came to a close, Maya was exhausted but filled with a deep sense of fulfillment. The event had been a success beyond her expectations. People had connected with the cause, shared their own experiences, and committed to doing more to support accessibility initiatives. Maya knew that this was just the beginning, that they had set something in motion that would continue to grow and expand. As the crowd began to disperse, James approached her with a proud smile. "You did it, Maya," he said, his voice filled with admiration. "This event was exactly what we needed." Maya smiled back, her heart full. "It was a team effort, James. We did it together." He nodded, his eyes twinkling. "I couldn't have asked for a better person to lead this. You've made a real difference today." Maya looked around at the crowd, at the people who had been touched by the event, and she felt a deep sense of purpose. She had always wanted to make a difference, but now, for the first time, she truly felt like she was. She had found her calling, and she knew that this was only the beginning. The success of the event marked a turning point not just for the project, but for Maya herself. What had started as a simple act of kindness in a busy train station had grown into something much larger, something that was changing the lives of many people. Maya couldn't help but look back and reflect on how far she had come in such a short time. The person she was now felt different from the woman who had hurried through the train station that first day. She had found a deeper purpose, one that filled her with a sense of fulfillment she had never experienced before. In the weeks that followed, the momentum from the event only grew. The media coverage had been positive, and more people reached out to get involved in the cause. James had been right when he said that the event would be a turning point, and now it seemed like they were on the verge of something big. They were receiving support from unexpected places, businesses, government agencies, and even individuals who wanted to contribute to the cause in any way they could. Maya spent her days working closely with James and the team to plan the next steps. They were working on proposals for new accessibility projects, negotiating with partners, and setting up meetings with various organizations. The energy in the office was contagious, and Maya couldn't help but feel proud to be a part of something so meaningful. Each day brought new challenges, but it also brought new opportunities to make a difference. One afternoon, as Maya sat at her desk, she received an unexpected email. The subject line simply read, "From James Harrison." She opened it quickly, wondering what it was about. The email was short but to the point. "Maya, I'd like to meet with you tomorrow afternoon. I have something important I'd like to discuss." Maya felt a small flutter of nerves in her chest. What could it be? Was there a problem with the project? She pushed the thought aside and responded to confirm the meeting, eager to find out what James wanted to talk about. The next day, she arrived at the office early. James's office was quiet, and as she walked inside, she noticed he was already sitting at his desk, papers scattered in front of him. He looked up and smiled when he saw her. "Good to see you, Maya," James said, gesturing for her to sit down. "Thanks for coming by." Maya took a seat across from him, trying to mask her curiosity. "Of course, James, what's going on?" James leaned back in his chair, his expression thoughtful. "I've been thinking about everything we've accomplished, and I have to say I'm impressed. We've made a lot of progress in a short amount of time, But I think it's time we take things to the next level. Maya's heart skipped a beat. What do you mean? I want you to lead a new initiative, James said, his tone serious but encouraging. We've been approached by a major city to help them redesign several public spaces to make them more accessible. It's a big project, and it's exactly the kind of thing we've been working toward. But it's also a huge responsibility. Maya's mind raced. This was a massive opportunity, a chance to have an even bigger impact than she ever imagined. That sounds amazing, she said, her voice filled with excitement. But what would my role be? James smiled, clearly pleased with her enthusiasm. I want you to be in charge of the project. You'll oversee the design process, work with architects and city officials, and ensure that the new spaces are fully accessible. You'll also be responsible for managing the timeline and budget. It will be a lot of work, but I know you're ready for it. Maya was taken aback. This was more than she had ever dreamed of. It was a huge leap forward, and she wasn't sure she was fully prepared for it. But as she looked at James, she could see the confidence he had in her. He believed in her, and that belief made all the difference. I won't let you down, Maya said, her voice firm. I'm ready for this. James nodded, a proud smile on his face. I knew you would be. You've proven yourself time and time again, and I believe you're the perfect person to lead this project. Maya left the meeting feeling a mix of excitement and nerves. This was the opportunity she had been waiting for, an opportunity to make a lasting impact on the world. But she knew it wouldn't be easy. The responsibility was immense, and there would be challenges along the way. Still, she was determined to rise to the occasion. Over the next few weeks, Maya dove headfirst into the project. She met with architects, city planners, and disability advocates to ensure that the new spaces would meet the needs of everyone. It was a lot of work, but Maya was used to the long hours by now. She had learned the value of hard work, and she was willing to do whatever it took to make the project a success. There were moments of doubt, of course. There were times when things didn't go according to plan, when obstacles seemed insurmountable, but Maya pushed through, reminding herself why she was doing this. The faces of the people she had met at the event, the stories of those who had struggled with inaccessible spaces, kept her motivated. This project wasn't just about design or architecture. It was about making the world a better place for those who needed it most. As the project began to take shape, Maya saw the impact it was having on the community. The new spaces were being designed with accessibility in mind: wider doorways, ramps, elevators, and clear signage. It wasn't just about making things easier for people with disabilities. It was about creating a world where everyone could thrive, regardless of their challenges. Maya was proud of what they were accomplishing. The project was moving forward, and she could see the difference it was already making. But she knew that there was still a long way to go. There were still many more spaces to redesign, many more barriers to break down. But with each success, she felt more confident in her ability to make a difference. One day, as Maya stood in the middle of one of the newly redesigned spaces, she couldn't help but feel a sense of awe. This was the future she had imagined, a world where accessibility was a priority, where no one was left behind. She looked around, taking in the smooth ramps, the wide hallways, the thoughtfully placed benches. It wasn't just a physical transformation. It was a transformation of how people thought about accessibility. James appeared beside her, a look of pride on his face. You've done it, Maya, he said. This is incredible. The impact you're making will be felt for generations. Maya smiled, her heart full. We've done it, James. This is just the beginning. As the project continued to expand, Maya realized that she had found her true calling. She had gone from being a woman with a simple desire to help others to a leader in a movement that was changing the world. She had learned that even the smallest act of kindness could set off a chain reaction, leading to something far bigger than anyone could imagine. In the end, Maya knew that this journey wasn't just about creating accessible spaces. It was about creating a more compassionate world. And as long as she had the chance to continue, she would keep working, keep fighting, and keep making a difference one step at a time.